Welcome to a world where magic and reality intertwine. Where every bargain comes at the cost of life itself. What would happen if one day you woke up and realized you had been kidnapped to a life or death academy because of a mysterious letter? Xiao Lin woke with a splitting headache amid the murmurs of a strange crowd, where everything began in utter confusion. He struggled to open his eyes, sweat streaming down his forehead as he fought to regain the last fragments of clarity in a space filled with unease. A vast, modern hall came into view. Hundreds of people stood around in confusion, none of them understanding what was happening to their lives. Xiao Lin's eyes widened in shock as he realized he was surrounded by a sea of unfamiliar faces in a bizarre environment. He wondered where this was and who these people were. Why had everyone gathered in a place like this? Confusion was the first barrier when a person was thrust into a completely foreign environment, where all previous rules lost their meaning. A sharp pain surged through his head again, forcing Xiao Lin to grimace as he tried to piece together fragments of broken memories. Then, a sudden thought flashed through his mind. Everything had begun with a strange letter that night. Xiao Lin had only been a recent graduate, struggling to survive by grinding in online games to prove himself to his family. Before finding a proper job, he relied on the speed and precision of his hands to make a living in the virtual world. A brilliant victory once flashed across his screen, yet that achievement could not fill the emptiness of his real life. After finishing work, Xiao Lin stretched tiredly in his messy rented room, a place that held both the ambitions and disappointments of youth. The virtual world offered a sense of false accomplishment, something real life often cruelly denied. He collapsed onto his bed, snacking while checking his phone out of habit after long hours of work. An old photo appeared on the screen, reopening wounds he always tried to bury deep within. His father's harsh words, calling him a useless failure, still haunted his mind, pushing Xiao Lin to succeed at any cost. Just as his emotions wavered, a knock on the door startled him in the late-night silence. A mailman, his face hidden beneath the brim of his hat, handed Xiao Lin a mysterious black envelope that carried an unsettling aura. The moment Xiao Lin touched the letter, a chilling sensation swept over him, filling him with suspicion about what lay inside. A glowing blue magic circle suddenly erupted from the envelope, releasing a powerful energy that swallowed the tiny space of his rented room whole. The letter, titled Admission Notice to Dawn Academy, began a forced teleportation process that allowed no resistance. Opportunities to change one's fate often come in the form of the harshest trials, forcing people to abandon their fragile comfort zones. Xiao Lin's body was dragged into a magical black hole, vanishing completely from the real world as he was thrust into a journey with no return. Back in the Grand Hall, Xiao Lin was struck with the horrifying realization that he had been kidnapped to a mysterious place called Dawn Academy. A tall man with an arrogant expression looked down at Xiao Lin, mocking the frail physical condition of this year's freshmen. The crowd began to riot, shouts demanding release and threats of calling the police echoed throughout the hall. The man merely clicked his tongue in annoyance, his patience seemingly reaching its limit in the face of their meaningless cries. Without saying a word, he coldly placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, preparing to carry out a ruthless display of power. A single sword strike, carrying a stream of violet sword energy, tore through the air and unleashed a terrifying shockwave. Absolute power was the only language capable of silencing all resistance from the weak. The crowd collapsed in panic, and silence fell as everyone realized the man standing before them was no ordinary human. The man shouted, ordering everyone to shut up, and introduced himself as Qin Chuan, the instructor in charge of this class. Looking at the trembling freshman, Qin Chuan could not hide his disappointment and contempt for the caliber of those selected this year. He rubbed his head in frustration, blaming the admissions department for their carelessness in bringing such trash into the academy. Xiao Lin remained silent, observing. His sharp gaze carefully analyzed every movement Qin Chuan made, searching for patterns that might determine survival. Meanwhile, Qin Chuan explained that this was Class 7 of the first year, where freshmen would undergo brutal training to earn the right to enter the new world. He promised power, wealth, and even immortality to ignite ambition within the frightened crowd. Ambition was the strongest force driving people to submit themselves to the cruel laws of power. The potential assessment officially began, a ruthless selection process to determine each individual's value within this system. Shaolin quickly realized the number of participants was far too large. This was not a simple kidnapping, it was a global-scale operation. A male student stepped into a high-tech scanning chamber, where every aspect of his potential would be exposed without mercy. Qin Chuan glanced at the virtual data panel and sneered in contempt when he saw the result. A mere 24 points. Another student scored 32 points and cheered triumphantly, as if he had just won the jackpot in this deadly game. While Qin Chuan continued complaining about the quality of the students, Xiao Yue quietly stepped forward with an unusually calm demeanor. When it was Shaolin's turn, he entered the scanning chamber amid the constant beeping of the system, feeling the scrutiny of hundreds of eyes upon him. Time passed longer than usual, and cold sweat began to form as Shaolin grew anxious about his own result. Qin Chuan narrowed his eyes at the violently flickering screen, wondering whether this was truly a worthless failure, or a being that could overturn the entire order of the academy. Sometimes, the greatest difference did not lie in visible numbers, but in hidden potential that could not yet be measured by ordinary standards. A sharp beep sounded. The test was finally complete, leaving Shaolin in tense anticipation. Qin Chuan stepped forward with the data panel in hand, muttering to himself whether such a long wait would yield any kind of treasure. His expression suddenly froze. His pupils contracted as if he had seen something utterly unbelievable. Shaolin's attribute panel appeared with pitiful numbers: Strength 2, Agility 2, Intelligence 2, Constitution 3. Qin Chuan shouted in shock upon seeing that the total attribute score was only 9. In a world governed by data, numbers could sometimes serve as the cruelest death sentence to a person's pride. Covering his face in disappointment, Qin Chuan declared that he had never seen such a garbage set of stats since entering the academy. Leaving Shaolin standing there, silently enduring it all, Qin Chuan continued his insults, calling Shaolin a rare piece of trash right in front of everyone. Any hope of discovering a genius student vanished in an instant, replaced by overwhelming disappointment from the arrogant instructor. Qin Chuan turned and walked away, throwing out the bitter words trash as he left, abandoning Shaolin to stand alone in the shadow of contempt. Painful memories surged back, angry faces and the constant insults of useless that had followed Shaolin since childhood. Shaolin clenched his teeth in resentment. He was utterly exhausted from carrying this humiliating label everywhere he went. His hands tightened into fists, and a flash of violet light flickered in his eyes, burning with fury. When resentment is pushed to its limit, it either crushes a soul, or becomes the spark that burns away every barrier to forge a breakthrough. Qin Chuan picked up the identity card and sneered, saying that with such stats, Shaolin participating in the test was no different from suicide, and that giving him this card was a complete waste. Refusing to accept it, Shaolin lunged forward and snatched the card from Qin Chuan's hand. His eyes filled with determination. He shouted that a person's worth could not be decided by a few lifeless numbers, and that he would prove it himself. Qin Chuan scoffed at his stubbornness, challenging him to try and see just how brutally reality would crush him. Amid the tense atmosphere, Xiao Yue spoke up, asking about the concept of gifted students that Qin Chuan had just mentioned. Qin Chuan explained that they were individuals destined to become the strongest, the ones guaranteed survival in the new world. Unlike the ordinary people here. The other students listened with anxious expressions, realizing that this game was far more serious than they had imagined. Qin Chuan continued painting a picture of ultimate power and immense wealth that the academy could offer. Calmly, Xiao Yue adjusted her glasses and directly asked what price they would have to pay for such dazzling rewards. Every privilege in the world came with a cost, and in a world of power, that cost was often paid with one's lifespan. Impressed by the question, Qin Chuan revealed her name, Xiao Yue, the student with the highest stats in the group. Though unfortunately lacking any special talent. Xiao Lin was secretly surprised. He hadn't expected the scholarly-looking Xiao Yue to be the strongest here and to earn such respect from Qin Chuan. Qin Chuan then instructed everyone on how to check their personal status using nothing more than a thought. Xiao Lin immediately focused his mind, activating the attribute panel through the card in his hand. The system revealed a shocking truth. Each death would deduct 10 years of lifespan. And once it reached 0, death would become permanent. Life here was no longer an abstract concept, it had become a tangible currency, traded for survival in this deadly game. The crowd descended into chaos, screams erupting as they realized they might only have a few short years left if they encountered danger. Suddenly, a strange beep echoed in Xiao Lin's mind, drawing his attention. A system notification appeared. An abnormal fluctuation had been detected, hidden talent unlocked and currently under analysis. Xiao Lin's expression changed drastically in shock. He couldn't believe that a trash like himself could possess a hidden talent. He looked around and realized that no one else seemed to hear the sound. This was a secret meant for him alone. A mysterious data panel appeared, filled with question marks as the system failed to find any equivalent information in its database. This talent granted a 100% increase in learning efficiency and the ability to copy others' skills for a limited period of time. Since it was a talent with no precedent, the system granted Xiao Lin the right to name it, forcing him into deep thought. His eyes lit up. He decided on a name that was simple yet powerful. Xiao Lin named his talent Top Scholar, and a surge of violet energy erupted around his body as if declaring his awakening. A large line of text appeared on the virtual screen before him. Talent Evaluation, SS Rank. Xiao Lin immediately realized that even Qin Chuan could not see the existence of this talent. A confident smile slowly formed on the face of the boy once labeled as trash. Xiao Lin knew he now held a card capable of changing the entire game. With a proud smirk, Xiao Lin thought, now I finally have enough capital to face this brutal world. Keeping one's strongest trump card hidden was the best way for someone looked down upon to turn the tables in a game they were never meant to win. A male student panicked, demanding to know what this lifespan meant. He only had 9 years left. If he dies once and loses 10 years, if he died once and lost 10 years, wouldn't that mean he was finished for good? He assumed this had to be some kind of system error. But at Dawn Academy, questions were not met with answers, they were met with violence. Qin Chuan slapped the student hard, sending him reeling, simply for daring to call the academy's rules a system error. Instructor Qin Chuan snarled, calling the freshmen a bunch of fools. Losing just 10 years of lifespan in exchange for a chance to change their fate was an enormous bargain. In this world, the only true fairness was the price one had to pay for power. Qin Chuan continued explaining, in the outside world, lifespan could only decrease, never increase, and death was the end. But at Dawn Academy, the rules were completely different. The beaten student could only clutch his head in pain, not daring to utter another word under the overwhelming pressure radiating from Qin Chuan. The academy offered power, knowledge, and wealth. Lifespan here was not merely time, it was a form of currency. By completing missions and accumulating points, students could buy back their lifespan. In fact, with enough academic credits, even achieving true immortality was not an impossible dream. As one's power grew stronger, the biological limits of the human body would become increasingly insignificant. Xiao Yue calmly adjusted her glasses and asked about the scope of this lifespan deduction rule. Did it only apply within the academy? Or everywhere? Qin Chuan confirmed that once someone became a student, the rule would follow them forever. As long as they remained on Earth, death would always demand repayment in lifespan. The briefing ended quickly. Qin Chuan ordered everyone to remain where they were, preparing for the entrance test. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy and suffocating. The system began a countdown for teleportation. Everyone was filled with unease, unsure of what awaited them ahead. The number 3 appeared. Xiao Yue and the others began to feel their bodies changing under a strange energy. Xiao Lin maintained his usual calm expression, though sweat had begun forming on his forehead. The countdown shifted to 2. A surge of violet light engulfed the entire room, erasing the figures of the freshmen in an instant. Qin Chuan stared at the now empty hall and muttered in frustration. Not a single student this time possessed any worthwhile talent. His instructor evaluation for this cycle was as good as ruined. He ruffled his hair in irritation, feeling incredibly unlucky to be assigned a class full of useless trash. Just then, a hearty laugh echoed, cutting through Qin Chuan's frustration. Another instructor was casually approaching. It turned out to be an old colleague stopping by to check in. This instructor looked more rugged, with a cigar in his mouth and a camouflage outfit. The man subtly boasted that his class had 2 students with talents, one ranked A and one ranked B. It was practically a slap in Qin Chuan's face. Qin Chuan was annoyed and tried to save face by saying that his class had a genius with an initial score of over 40 points. But the other guy scoffed, saying that high scores without talent were useless, and then mentioned rumors about a new SS-ranked freshman who had appeared in the Eagle Kingdom. Qin Chuan waved off rumors of SS-ranked talents, insisting they were nothing but fabrications. Even the central database had no record of such a thing. In the eyes of ordinary people, anything beyond their understanding was often dismissed as fiction. Meanwhile, the freshman had been teleported to the entrance of a dark, gloomy cave. A foul, putrid stench filled the air, making everyone cover their noses in nausea. This was the lair of goblins. Shaolin surveyed his surroundings with a serious expression. There was no mistaking that smell, the scent of death and filth. A system notification suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. The entrance exam had officially begun. The main objective: escape the Goblin Forest and reach the safe zone within 1 hour. There were also 2 side quests: kill 5 goblins, or defeat the Goblin King to earn additional points and academic credits. Shaolin began analyzing the options. The system granted each person a beginner's gift box containing a random weapon. This would be the only equipment the freshmen had to survive this test. What relieved everyone the most was the notice stating that this test would not deduct lifespan upon death. It was essentially a practice run with life insurance. Shaolin reached out and tapped the gift box on the virtual screen, silently hoping for something useful to compensate for his poor stats. An F-rank magic staff appeared. The system notified him that he had unlocked the skill Basic Staff Mastery. Level 1. It wasn't a bad start for a mage. Holding the weapon, Shaolin realized that the mechanics were very similar to the video games he used to play. Skills, experience points, everything was clearly quantified. If that's the case, I might as well give it a try, he thought, deciding to test his new weapon immediately. He focused his mind on the purple crystal at the tip of the staff. Violet electricity began to gather, forming a sphere of energy that shot forward. The crackling sound of magic made Shaolin feel true power flowing through his body. The energy sphere slammed into the cave wall, creating a small crack and a cloud of dust. The power wasn't overwhelming, but it was enough for self-defense against minor monsters. His status panel appeared. His staff mastery experience had increased by 2 points. Simply using the weapon made him stronger. For someone with an SS-rank talent, this was an incredibly advantageous system. Shaolin smiled confidently. With the support of his top scholar talent, his skill growth speed would be twice that of ordinary people. The difference between a genius and an average person sometimes came down to nothing more than a multiplier. He swung the staff again, feeling the connection between himself and the weapon. At this rate, he could stay here and grind his skill level before even attempting the mission. But reality hit him like a bucket of cold water. A sharp pain surged through his brain, and his body trembled from exhaustion after just one attack. A bright red notification appeared: not enough mana. Shaolin's mana stat was too low. He could only cast a single energy sphere before being completely drained. The greatest weakness of intelligent individuals was often the limitation of their physical body. In the distance, Wang Dalin was excitedly showing off his heavy greatsword. With just a simple swing, his sword mastery increased rapidly without consuming any mana at all. This was exactly what Shaolin needed right now. Shaolin quickly adjusted his strategy. Using magic with such a frail body was practically suicide. He needed a physical weapon to maximize the experience gain from his SS rank talent. He glanced at the staff in his hand. then looked around the crowd. He needed to find someone who had a physical weapon but wanted to pursue a mage path, to trade with. In a brutal survival system, adaptability was always more important than stubbornness. At that moment, Xiao Yue stepped closer to Xiao Lin. She was holding a short sword, yet her expression showed a clear interest in magic. Xiao Yue spoke up, proposing a weapon exchange. She displayed sharp intelligence. Even though she had never played virtual reality games, she clearly understood the rules of energy consumption. Magic required mental power or mana, both of which depended directly on the intelligence stat. For someone like Xiao Lin, whose intelligence was low, using a magic staff was no different from holding a dry stick. In contrast, she possessed exceptionally high intelligence. Xiao Yue bluntly pointed out that the short sword in her hand was completely unsuitable for someone with a mage's potential. In a team, optimizing resources was the first step to ensuring survival. Xiao Lin smiled warmly, introduced himself as Xiao Lin, and correctly addressed her by name. It was a calculated opening to build trust. Though slightly surprised, Xiao Lin quickly recognized the logic in Xiao Yu's proposal. He agreed to the weapon exchange without hesitation. At the moment the two weapons were swapped, Xiao Lin reminded her that a magic staff required precise aim to maximize its power, a small detail that revealed his meticulous nature. The instant he touched the short sword, the system notified him. Xiao Lin had obtained an F-rank beginner's short sword and unlocked the skill Basic Short Sword Mastery. The feeling of holding the blade made him far more confident than when he held the flimsy staff earlier. Xiao Lin thought to himself that if he wanted to pass this test safely, having allies was absolutely essential. And Xiao Yue, with her exceptionally high potential stats, was the perfect piece for that puzzle. He turned to her and proposed forming a team, an invitation that was both sincere and practical in this dangerous place. But their conversation was interrupted by an unwelcome presence. Wang Dalin, the burly man wielding a massive greatsword, swaggered over with a smug grin. He also wanted Xiao Yue to join his team. Putting on a flirtatious tone, Wang Dalin called her little beauty and bragged that all his strength and constitution stats exceeded 10 points. Those who relied on brute force often liked to flaunt numbers to cover their lack of intelligence. He glanced at Xiao Lin with disdain, claiming that compared to this pale-faced bookworm, he was far more reliable. Wang Dalin confidently declared that as long as she followed him, passing the test would be effortless. Xiao Lin could only click his tongue in annoyance at the man's delusion. Xiao Yu's gaze remained cold as ice. She wasn't swayed in the slightest by Wang Dalin's boasting. Her composure only made Xiao Lin respect her even more. Her answer was short and concise. Not interested. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Wang Dalin frozen in place after being rejected so bluntly in front of everyone. The surrounding students began whispering and laughing at him. Some even added mocking remarks, causing Wang Dalin's face to flush red with humiliation. The last shred of pride of this brute was being trampled. That humiliation quickly turned into rage. Veins bulged across Wang Dalin's face as he refused to accept being outdone by a piece of trash in the eyes of a beautiful woman. Just as Xiao Lin was about to leave, a large hand blocked his path. Wang Dalin growled, asking what Xiao Lin was staring at. It was clear he intended to vent his anger on him. Wang Dalin insulted Xiao Lin as worthless trash with single-digit stats, mocking his attempt to study weapons as nothing more than a show to hide his weakness. In a society that worshipped power, the weak were always the first to have their dignity stripped away. Xiao Lin maintained his cold gaze and advised Wang Dalin to conserve his strength for the mission instead of causing trouble here. A practical suggestion, but it only enraged Wang Dalin further. Wang Dalin roared, tightening his grip on Xiao Lin's collar. He wanted to teach Xiao Lin a lesson about what strength truly meant, with his fists. The tension in the air became suffocating. Xiao Lin showed no fear. The corner of his lips curled into a subtle, meaningful smile, one that sent a chill down Wang Dalin's spine for reasons he couldn't understand. "Looks like you won't get the chance to do that," Xiao Lin said calmly. His eyes weren't on Wang Dalin, but fixed on the space behind him. A sense of danger was approaching. Before Wang Dalin could react, A green-skinned shadow suddenly leapt down from the cave wall. It was a goblin, its sharp teeth and claws ready to tear apart its prey. The sudden appearance of the goblin threw Wang Dalin into a panic. But thanks to his quick reflexes, he narrowly avoided death. The goblin's strike only left a deep gash across his face, blood splattering violently. Wang Dalin had been hit. The deep cut on his face drove him nearly insane with pain and fury. The sensation was so real that no one could believe this was just a virtual environment. The green-skinned monsters lunged forward like ghosts, taking advantage of the chaos to hunt their prey. They didn't possess overwhelming strength, but their sheer brutality created an immense psychological barrier. Wang Dalin swung his sword, one clean, decisive strike that killed the creature charging at him. He was among the few who had the courage to pick up a weapon and fight back. Standing amid the corpses of monsters, Wang Dalin panted heavily, realizing he had just escaped death by a hair's breadth. Physical strength could help someone survive, but it was combat instinct that defined a true victor. He pointed straight at Xiao Lin and roared, demanding to know if Xiao Lin was just standing there watching the show. In moments of panic, people often look for someone to blame rather than seeking cooperation. But then he froze. A sense of dread crept in as countless glowing eyes began appearing from within the bushes. Dozens, no, hundreds, of goblins emerged from the undergrowth, surrounding the group of students. Sometimes, sheer numbers created a pressure far more terrifying than quality, crushing any hope of resistance. Screams echoed throughout the forest as the monsters launched their full assault. The crowd began to break apart, everyone scrambling to flee for their lives. Cries of terror and the thick stench of blood filled the air, painting a scene straight out of hell. This was no longer a test, this was a merciless fight for survival. One male student was bitten viciously on the shoulder by a goblin. His blue t-shirt soaked red with blood. Fragments of digital data scattered from his body, showing that it was nearing its limit of endurance. Corpses lay scattered across the ground while the monsters continued to pounce on new victims. The gap in combat experience was turning these freshmen into easy prey. Xiao Lin deflected an incoming attack, and in that moment, he realized a horrifying truth. The pain was completely real. In a virtual world, pain was the only proof that your soul still existed. Even his sense of smell joined the brutality. Overwhelmed by the foul stench of the creatures, every sense screamed at Xiao Lin to act immediately. Behind him, Xiao Yue emitted a mysterious purple aura, her sharp gaze glinting behind her glasses. Unlike the others, she showed no fear. The tactile sensation was just as disturbingly real as monster blood splattered across Xiao Lin's face. He finally understood, Dawn Academy was not just a game, but a dangerous parallel reality. Amid the chaos, Xiao Lin bitterly realized how naive he had been. When ordinary people wield weapons without combat experience, those weapons become nothing more than decorations for their own deaths. A faint spark of hope flickered in the depths of despair when a male student discovered that the goblins did not dare approach a nearby cave and shouted for everyone to run inside. The crowd surged toward the cave, pushing and shoving like drowning men grasping at a lifeline. Xiao Lin also retreated, his eyes never leaving the monsters growling outside. He knew this place could not remain a refuge forever. In war, safety was often just a temporary illusion, a trap designed to test human patience. Looking down at his blood-stained short sword, Xiao Lin forced himself to stay calm and analyze the situation. He understood that panic would only lead to a quicker death. No matter how dire things became, sitting and waiting to die was never an option for Xiao Lin. In adversity, even blind action was better than the silence of surrender. Xiao Lin began practicing basic sword forms right inside the cave, ignoring the strange looks from the people around him. A system notification appeared. Basic short sword mastery. Experience +2. Xiao Lin realized that executing precise swings and applying proper force granted more experience points. With extremely low attribute stats, he had no choice but to rely on technique to compensate for his lack of physical strength. The countdown timer had less than 3 minutes remaining. The protection was about to disappear. Tension inside the cave began to rise as everyone realized that their safety was slipping away second by second. A male student shouted in despair, claiming that the mission was impossible to complete from the very beginning. Fear could spread faster than any virus, turning potential warriors into cowards. Xiao Yue quietly sat in a corner, observing Xiao Lin's frantic training. The genius seemed to be contemplating something based on his strange behavior. Xiao Lin paid no attention to those around him. He focused entirely on making each swing as precise as possible. Sweat poured down his body, yet his eyes remained unusually resolute. His breathing grew heavier. His body began to protest, but his will did not. Xiao Lin knew this was his only chance to strengthen himself before stepping back onto the battlefield. Xiao Yue walked over and spoke coldly, saying that what Xiao Lin was doing was completely meaningless. She asserted that, according to her calculations, it would take at least an hour of continuous training to level up a skill. Xiao Lin's eyes lit up as he looked at Xiao Yue standing before him. Intelligence was a sharp weapon, but it could also become a wall that prevented people from believing in the extraordinary. Xiao Lin simply smiled in response. He was confident because his progress was several times faster than that of an ordinary person. He was about to reach level 2 in the blink of an eye. He thanked Xiao Yue for her reminder but insisted that he was merely trying to regain his combat instincts. At the same time, he asked whether her observations about the goblins had yielded any results. Xiao Yue admitted that she had been observing them and was somewhat surprised that Xiao Lin had noticed. Xiao Lin explained that it was like playing a video game before fighting a boss. You check the guide. It was a brutally pragmatic mindset in a world filled with illusions. According to Xiao Lin, goblins had extremely low attack and defense stats, only at an F level. As long as one targeted the head or heart, anyone could defeat them in a one-on-one fight. He pointed out that the real problem wasn't the monsters, but people's fear. Fear was an invisible chain. It turned simple challenges into insurmountable walls. A female student sat hugging her knees, her entire body trembling in terror. For people like her, even a small mistake could mean losing their life or sacrificing 10 years of their lifespan. With the protection about to expire, Xiao Lin and Xiao Yue decided to step outside. They couldn't keep running forever if they truly wanted to take control of their fate at Dawn Academy. Wait, where do you think you're going? Wang Dalin roared, unable to accept being ignored. Wang Dalin tried to persuade Xiao Yue to form a team with him. He believed that the combination of their attribute stats would be the safest ticket to survival. In his eyes, Xiao Lin was nothing more than a burden, dead weight that would drag others to their deaths. Xiao Yue simply stared ahead in silence, her gaze cold and calculating. She stated that reaching the safe zone wasn't difficult, the real reward lay with the Goblin King, which had yet to appear. Wang Dalin refused to give up. He shouted that killing the Goblin King was only an optional objective, and risking their lives for it was pure stupidity. What he didn't understand was that in this environment, false safety was a poison that killed human potential. Xiao Lin argued that if a mission was given, it meant it could be completed. He began analyzing the boss's spawning mechanics, from time factors to the number of survivors. Xiao Yue nodded in agreement. After eliminating the more unreasonable possibilities, she proposed a hypothesis. The key to summoning the boss was the number of goblins killed by the freshmen. Xiao Lin smirked, the confidence of a seasoned gamer becoming more apparent. He predicted that once a certain percentage of goblins were eliminated, the alpha monster would inevitably reveal itself to protect its horde. A female student holding a bow trembled as she asked why they had to do this instead of simply completing the required task. Fear had narrowed their vision to nothing more than their fragile, immediate survival. Xiao Lin bluntly pointed out that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to earn accumulation points without punishment if they failed. He continued persuading everyone, saying that if they didn't take risks now, they would never have a chance to obtain the hidden rewards after officially enrolling. His words, heavy with conviction, began to shake the minds of those gripped by fear. The crowd buzzed with discussion, realizing that the cave would soon no longer be safe anyway. Wang Dalin felt insulted as he saw people starting to listen to someone he considered weak. He flaunted his attribute score of 32 as a show of dominance, treating it as irrefutable proof of his right to lead. Xiao Yue adjusted her glasses slightly and delivered a cold remark. 32 points was only slightly above average. She then revealed her own stat, 46, 5 times higher than Xiaolin's and far beyond Wang Dalin's. It was a number that crushed all arrogance and firmly established her absolute authority. Standing there with her powerful purple staff, Xiao Yue radiated an oppressive aura that left no room for resistance. This coldness wasn't indifference, it was total focus on survival. She declared that she would take command if they wanted to pass the trial with the highest possible reward. Unity was no longer a choice, it was a necessity for everyone to survive. She turned to Wang Dalin and ordered, "Your stats are high. You'll take the front line and draw the goblins aggro." Though unwilling, he had no choice but to agree. Those with ranged weapons were assigned to support from the rear, forming a basic coordinated formation. Finally, she turned her gaze toward Xiao Lin. Considering his role, Xiao Lin volunteered to harass and finish off weakened monsters. Knowing one's limits was the first step to surpassing them, and on the battlefield, those who knew how to stay hidden were often the most dangerous. With the plan set, the group stepped out of the cave, ready to face the swarm of monsters. "Die for me," Wang Dalin roared, swinging his greatsword and cleaving a goblin in half. He was trying to prove his worth through powerful strikes, but they lacked finesse. The sharp whistling of arrows cut through the air, piercing straight into the monsters' chests. The battlefield quickly descended into chaos, filled with growls and the sickening sound of metal crashing into flesh and bone. However, the goblins moved far too swiftly, easily dodging most of the arrows flying toward them. One goblin broke through the defensive line and charged straight at a female archer, causing her to scream in terror. A flash of steel cut through the air. Xiao Lin appeared at just the right moment to intercept the attack. He didn't rely on brute strength, but on technique, redirecting the monster's strike with precision. The female student who had just escaped death hurriedly thanked Xiao Lin, but he merely nodded in silence. At that moment, only one thought occupied his mind: how to eliminate the monsters as efficiently as possible without wasting energy. The number of goblins falling beneath Xiao Lin's blade steadily rose to 3. His composure began to make those around him see him in a different light. Others assumed Xiao Lin was simply lucky, always appearing at the perfect moment to claim the final blows. Wang Dalin cursed angrily, insisting that Xiao Lin was just getting lucky. Only Xiao Yue realized that this luck was actually his ability to read the situation and choose the perfect position. Xiao Lin could evade the goblins' line of sight, and even predict their movements. Xiao Lin felt fortunate that he had once found a fully immersive VR game and had spent 2 entire months grinding it relentlessly. Without that experience, he wouldn't have been able to strike with such precision. A glowing notification panel appeared. Basic short sword mastery has reached level 2. The data showed that he was the first student in this freshman class to reach a level 2 skill. According to the freshman reward system, he would receive a free skill suited to his current abilities. Skill unlocked: Heavy Strike LV1. This skill required strength above 1 and could be used with any physical melee weapon. After a brief charge, it unleashed a more powerful attack, with damage scaling based on the user's strength stat. The system also warned that repeated use would consume stamina. Xiao Lin clenched his fists, unable to hide his excitement. He muttered, "Leveled up, and I even got a new skill. Just one more goblin and I'll complete optional mission 1, eliminate 5 goblins." At that very moment, a goblin was knocked flying toward him by Xiao Yue, a completely unexpected gift. The last one, Xiao Lin growled as his blade pierced straight through the goblin's chest, officially completing the first optional mission with 5 valuable kills. Xiao Lin stood up and took a deep breath, regaining his calm after the intense of high-speed actions. One mission had been completed, but the sense of relief felt like nothing more than a false calm before the real storm arrived. "They're disappearing?" Wang Dalin exclaimed in shock as the goblins' corpses began to shatter into glowing pixel fragments. What's going on?" he shouted, panic evident on his face. Instinctive fear began to override his usual arrogance as reality itself started shifting in ways that defied all logic. A cold system notification rang out. confirming that the number of monsters had dropped to the minimum threshold and that a hidden condition had been successfully triggered. From deep within the dark forest, an overwhelming pressure spread outward, sending flocks of birds scattering in terror and leaving behind an eerie, suffocating silence. Heavy footsteps shook the ground, signaling the approach of the supreme ruler, the Goblin King. A massive figure emerged, towering several times taller than a normal human. With razor-sharp horns and eyes burning with hatred, it loomed before Shaolin, blotting out the sky itself. In this perilous fantasy world, strength is sometimes the only thing that determines whether you live or die, and at this very moment, a world-shaking roar from the Goblin King tore through the already tense atmosphere. The pressure from that roar was so overwhelming that the very space around them seemed to tremble, forcing all the weaker beings nearby to bow before the ruler's authority. The students clutched their ears in agony, their faces twisted in terror as if their eardrums were about to burst under the invisible force. Cold sweat streamed down their foreheads as they realized they were facing a monster whose power far exceeded anything they had ever imagined. Shaolin and Xiaoyue stood frozen, motionless before the enemy's brutal presence. Despite the anxiety surging in their hearts, they struggled to hold on to the last shreds of their sanity. True power did not lie in brute strength alone, but in an overwhelming presence capable of paralyzing an enemy's will from the very first moment. Looking at the boss monster's seemingly endless health bar, anyone would feel a deep sense of despair creeping in. The Goblin King's eyes glowed with a malicious golden light as it slowly swept its gaze across the trembling prey before it. Shaolin noticed something strange. All the smaller goblins had completely disappeared. The dungeon was now occupied by the Goblin King alone. What kind of joke is this? That health bar is longer than our lives. How are we supposed to fight that? Panicked complaints erupted from the crowd. One male student, unable to withstand the pressure, turned and ran. Shaolin shouted a warning, telling him not to disrupt the formation at a time like this. Drawing on his observation skills and gaming experience, Shaolin identified a key trait of these goblins: their vision was actually quite limited. However, in exchange, the Goblin King's hearing and sense of smell were terrifyingly sharp, so much so that even a slightly heavier breath could not escape its detection. The fleeing student's actions had unknowingly placed him squarely in the Goblin King's sights, drawing its full attention to the panicked target. Qin Chuan immediately gritted his teeth in fury. In his eyes, the act of running away was nothing but disgrace. This arrogant young man still believed he was strong enough to face the Goblin King head-on. But in a deadly game, blind confidence without real ability is the fastest ticket to death. With a roar, Qin Chuan leapt into the air and unleashed a decisive, killing strike at the Goblin King. However, the Goblin King's blazing eyes had already captured every clumsy movement. Without even needing a weapon, it simply delivered a swift, devastating sweeping kick, striking Qin Chuan squarely in midair. A dry, bone-crushing impact echoed through the cavern, followed by a shockwave so powerful that the ground beneath them cracked apart. Qin Chuan was sent flying like a rag doll, blood bursting from his mouth while his face remained frozen in shock. His body slammed into the ground, then gradually dissolved into countless tiny blue particles of data. The strongest among them had been eliminated in the blink of an eye. Witnessing such a horrifying scene, the fighting spirit of all the freshmen collapsed instantly. One by one, they turned and fled, desperate to survive. Screams echoed throughout the cave as chaos consumed every corner, the scythe of death chasing close behind. The Goblin King stomped down, crushing an unfortunate student beneath its massive foot. It swung its enormous iron mace, generating a violent gust that swept away anyone caught within its range. The fragile freshmen were sent flying like dry leaves in the midst of a raging storm. The Goblin King stood towering, its eyes filled with contempt as it looked down upon those so-called geniuses crawling on the ground, begging for their lives. Suddenly, a surge of powerful purple light erupted. Xiaoyu's long-range magic attack had finally been unleashed. However, the spell only grazed the Goblin King's shoulder, failing to inflict any meaningful damage on its massive body. Xiao Yue clicked her tongue in frustration, sweat pouring down her face as she realized she had missed the most critical weak point. She understood that striking the limbs would significantly reduce the damage. Only a direct hit on a vital point could offer any real chance of victory. According to the original plan, her teammates were supposed to hold the Goblin King in place, giving her enough time to cast spells safely from the rear. But now the formation had completely fallen apart, leaving Xiao Yue to face the monster alone, without any protection. The Goblin King slowly stepped forward, its massive shadow engulfing Xiao Yue's small figure. A bitter realization struck her. She was utterly inexperienced in the face of the dungeon's brutal reality. Just as death loomed near, Xiao Lin's voice rang out with sharp determination, ordering Xiao Yue to run immediately. Xiao Lin's eyes suddenly glowed with a strange blue light as he charged in from behind, intercepting the Goblin King's attack with a single slash. The Goblin King roared in fury, unable to believe that a tiny creature like an ant would dare challenge the authority of a ruler. Its massive iron mace came crashing down, but Xiao Lin narrowly dodged at the last possible moment, relying on his sharp analytical instincts. He had already identified the Goblin King's attack pattern. It would always prioritize the closest target. Without hesitation, Xiao Lin shouted to the remaining survivors, now that all the lesser goblins had disappeared. They only needed to face a single enemy. He ordered them to launch ranged attacks, drawing the Goblin King's attention and creating an opening for him. The female archer trembled slightly, still gripped by fear. However, Xiao Lin's strange calmness gave her a sliver of courage. Finally, she took a deep breath and slowly raised her bow. Xiao Lin quickly instructed Xiao Yue to unleash her strongest firepower, chipping away at the Goblin King's health while taking advantage of every opening as it focused its attacks on him. Xiao Yue and the archer worked in perfect synchronization, one wielding ranged weapons, the other channeling magic, forming a flawless pincer attack. Arrows and streams of purple energy rained down relentlessly upon the Goblin King's massive body, causing its health bar to finally begin decreasing. Xiao Lin nodded in satisfaction. He knew that as long as they could maintain this tempo, defeating the Goblin King was no longer impossible. But suddenly, the Goblin King let out a chilling roar. Its eyes blazed with a deadly light, signaling that a wide-area attack was about to be unleashed. A dense purple energy gathered in its massive hands, compressing the surrounding space under an overwhelming pressure. The skill shockwave was activated, turning the ground into a raging sea of destructive energy that swept across everything in its path. Xiao Lin shouted in alarm, trying to warn and help his teammates, but it was too late. The impact was too powerful. The archer behind him was instantly blasted away and struck down. After the assault, the Goblin King slowly rose to its feet, its face twisted with savage brutality, as if declaring that all human resistance was utterly meaningless. Xiao Lin and Xiao Yue stood back to back, facing an extremely dire situation as their original formation had completely collapsed. Trembling, Xiao Yue asked Xiao Lin if they still had any chance of winning, when it seemed that only the two of them remained standing on this battlefield. Maintaining an astonishing level of composure, Xiao Lin asked about Xiao Yu's remaining mana to calculate their next move. With a bitter expression, Xiao Yue replied that she only had enough mana left for exactly 2 final magic shots. Xiao Lin reminded her that a single direct hit to the head would be enough to finish off the Goblin King. When she voiced concern about the Goblin King's movement speed, Xiao Lin revealed a mysterious smile, promising that he would make the Goblin King stand still long enough for her to take the shot. The SS-grade talent All-Knowing Scholar was officially activated. A brilliant blue light radiated from Xiao Lin's eyes as he began analyzing the structure of the enemy's abilities. All the data regarding the shockwave skill appeared clearly before him. The system announced that the skill replication process had been completed flawlessly. Xiao Lin clenched his fists, recalling the days when he had been looked down upon as useless, simply because he possessed a talent that had never been given a chance to shine. Xiao Lin blazed with a new surge of energy, ready to unleash what could become the greatest comeback of all time. Xiao Lin's eyes blazed with excitement, The thrill of a gamer who had just discovered a loophole in the rules of the game. The all-knowing scholar talent had revealed a path to victory. The Goblin King roared, its massive arms gathering strength as it prepared to unleash the devastating shockwave skill once more. Yet in that very moment, Shaolin did not retreat. Instead, he charged forward like an arrow. He had noticed a crucial difference. The Goblin King activated its skill by slamming its hands into the ground, while Shaolin could trigger the copied ability by striking the ground with his weapon. In this world, the strong used power to dominate, but the intelligent used that very power to turn the tide. A system notification appeared. Copy, Shockwave, F rank, is ready. Though it was the lowest rank, the true value of a skill did not lie in its level, but in how it was used. Two forces crashed into the ground at the same time, sending out twin shockwaves that collided head-on. Shaolin was gambling his life on a fragile calculation. Just as he had predicted. As long as the skills shared the same nature, interrupting the opponent's attack was entirely possible. His shockwave disrupted the Goblin King's balance just before the giant's attack could fully erupt. The monster froze in shock, its cancelled strike throwing off its entire combat rhythm. Shaolin gasped for breath, acutely feeling the massive drain of energy after that reckless move. He tightened his grip on the short sword, his gaze never leaving his opponent. The interruption had worked, but this battle was still far beyond the capabilities of a mere freshman. Shaolin reminded himself to stay calm. Confidence did not come from knowing you were stronger than your enemy. It came from understanding your own limits and knowing how to surpass them with reason. A cooldown timer appeared before him, 22 seconds. An eternity when facing a boss capable of killing in the blink of an eye. Impatience twisted across the Goblin King's monstrous face as it roared and unleashed powerful sweeping strikes that shook the dungeon itself. But before its arm could reach Shaolin, Xiao Yue intervened. A burst of purple energy slammed into the goblin's arm, making it howl in pain. From behind, Xiao Yue panted as she delivered bad news. She had reached her limit as well. She only had enough mana left for one final spell. The responsibility of ending the battle now rested entirely on Shaolin's shoulders. The Goblin King staggered briefly before rising again, its massive hand grabbing a huge boulder. Its health bar was still far from depleted. The creature's endurance was nothing short of a nightmare. Cooldown, 16 seconds. The Goblin King lifted the enormous rock high, preparing to crush Shaolin beneath it. Shaolin knew he wouldn't be able to dodge if he kept retreating. His eyes suddenly turned cold. Instead of panicking, Shaolin revealed a defiant smile. He had made his decision. He would not run anymore. Shaolin dashed straight beneath the giant's feet. To outsiders, it looked like a mad decision, but it was the only choice for survival. Sometimes, the most dangerous place is the safest blind spot. But this gamble cost Shaolin an arm. Xiao Yue screamed in panic as she saw her teammate disappear beneath the shadow of the Goblin King. Everything happened too fast for her to react. Dust exploded into the air from the Goblin King's crushing blow. The monster roared, convinced it had pulverized the nuisance beneath its feet. But Shaolin was still standing, his uniform torn to shreds. His left arm seemingly gone. He had calculated the position so the attack wouldn't strike him directly. But the price he paid was still enormous. Cooldown, 10 seconds remaining. The Goblin King roared in fury, preparing to bring its massive arm crashing down on Shaolin. Shaolin stared at those colossal legs. He couldn't run now. If he moved too far away, his shockwave skill would be useless. Cooldown, 7 seconds remaining. Shaolin slipped through the gaps between the monster's attacks. Raw, brutal force shattered the ground around him. The short sword in Shaolin's hand trembled violently. He was compressing every last bit of his strength into the tip of the blade, preparing for a decisive strike. Cooldown, 3 seconds remaining. Stop right there. Shaolin roared as he drove the blade straight into the ground beneath the Goblin King's center of gravity. The moment his shockwave skill came off cooldown, he activated it instantly. A violent shockwave erupted, knocking away the fragile balance of the giant that had been committing fully to its attack. The second interruption plan succeeded perfectly. Xiao Yue, now, Shaolin shouted. using the last of his strength to create this once-in-a-lifetime opening. He had done his part, now it was time for magic to speak. Not wasting the opportunity, Xiao Yue poured all of her mana into a brilliant finishing strike. A beam of magical light pierced through the Goblin King's body, ending the monster's reign in the dungeon. The creature dissolved into radiant blue data fragments. Its health bar dropped to 0, marking an unbelievable victory for two individuals, one a genius, the other once deemed worthless. A system notification appeared. Goblin King has been defeated. Optional Mission 2 completed. Xiao Lin stood amid the ruins. His breathing ragged, but a satisfied smile spread across his lips. The sword planted in the ground was the only thing keeping him from collapsing. Xiao Lin had reached the absolute limit of both body and mind. Xiao Yue rushed to his side. This victory not only granted them academic points, but also proved that perfect coordination could overcome even overwhelming challenges. Xiao Lin's consciousness began to fade. He could only mumble something about reaching the safe zone before sinking completely into darkness from exhaustion. Still, he knew he had accomplished something no one had thought possible. Xiao Yue panicked as she saw her teammate lose consciousness. It was the first time she had witnessed someone fight so recklessly. In the conference room of Dawn Academy, the atmosphere suddenly turned unusually restless. Professors and high-ranking officials watching the freshman assessment results wore expressions of utter shock. The head of admissions, a composed man with a cigar resting on his lips, began presenting the summary report. This cohort had 1360 students, divided into 12 classes with fairly balanced numbers. However, the real variable lay in the students who achieved S rank. A total of 15 students had reached S rank in this assessment. It was a record-breaking number, proving the exceptional quality of this year's incoming class. But the astonishment didn't stop there. S rank requires completing every task and surviving until the very last minute. Right? A lecturer questioned, full of doubt. The brutality of this year's dungeon was obvious to everyone. Yet there were still those who managed to overcome it. Murmurs began to spread. Some classes had as many as 2 S-rank students. But those were all talent awakeners already recruited by the academy beforehand. In a system that prioritized final results, innate talent was often seen as the only guarantee of success. The head of admissions nodded in satisfaction. This was an extremely promising class. But one particular report caught his attention more than anything else. A 10-year academy record was about to be broken by an individual who existed outside the rules. Instructor Qin Chuan shifted uneasily when he noticed his superior looking at him with a meaningful gaze. He couldn't understand why Class 7, considered the weakest class, had drawn such intense attention. Little Qin, did you know your class has just set 2 unprecedented records in the academy's history? The head of admissions' words silenced the entire conference room. All eyes turned toward the data panel of Class 7. The first record. Class 7 was the only class where 2 students without innate talent both achieved S rank. And the second record was the true shock. Xiao Lin had set the highest intelligence stat in the academy's history for freshmen, despite his other attributes being pitifully low. In the monitoring room, the atmosphere suddenly became unusually lively. The head of admissions was announcing a new intelligence record set since the founding of the academy. But what made it even more absurd was the existence of a completely opposite record, the lowest total base attributes ever recorded. In a society that worshipped strength, the weakest and the most intelligent often coexisted within the same individual, and such extremes always created unpredictable variables. The stat panels of Xiao Lin and Xiao Yue appeared, proving the strangest combination in history. Even the principal was alarmed by the results of these 2 freshmen without innate talent. Back in the safe zone, Xiao Lin suddenly woke up and realized that all the wounds on his body had completely vanished. As if the life and death battle had never happened. The recovery technology of Dawn Academy was truly something akin to terrifying magic. A radiant system notification appeared, displaying his final evaluation, S rank. The reward, 40 academic points and 800 exchange points, was an enormous fortune. Enough to make any freshman envious. The value of risk was always proportional to the rewards it brought. Xiao Lin stared at the results in disbelief. He clearly remembered passing out right after delivering the final blow. Seeing Xiao Yue appear in a flash of teleportation light, Xiao Lin realized that she was the one who had brought him to the safe zone. "Xiao Lin, you're awake," a bright, cheerful voice rang out. Mao Zhaoqing, the girl Xiao Lin had saved earlier, was waving at him with a radiant smile. Mao Zhaoqing ran over, continuously expressing her gratitude to both Xiao Lin and Xiao Yue. Thanks to their help, she had achieved an A- rank evaluation, far beyond her expectations as someone who had once considered giving up. She felt a bit regretful that she had ultimately been defeated by the aftershock of the Goblin King. But she deeply admired Xiao Lin and Xiao Yue for truly defeating it. Xiao Lin simply smiled in relief. He knew he had done the right thing. The cheerful atmosphere was suddenly shattered when a burly shadow approached. Wang Dalin, a muscular freshman with an arrogant expression, stared at Xiao Lin with undisguised contempt. "Just got lucky," Wang Dalin sneered, claiming that Xiao Lin was nothing more than a coward hiding behind Xiao Yue to take credit for the victory. Wang Dalin continued to hurl insults, insisting that with such useless stats, Xiao Lin would inevitably be eliminated sooner or later. Xiao Lin remained silent, not out of fear, but because he saw no need to argue with someone who only relied on brute strength. Just as the tension reached its peak, Xiao Yue suddenly appeared behind him. Her presence silenced Wang Dalin immediately. Such was the rule of strength, the strongest had the right to speak. Completely ignoring Wang Dalin, Xiao Yue looked Xiao Lin straight in the eyes and said, "About the battle earlier, I want to speak with you in private." The battle had just ended when Xiao Yue took the initiative to walk toward Xiao Lin through the chaotic crowd. Her expression remained calm, as if the life and death chase moments ago had never happened. She bluntly asked to speak with him in private about what had just occurred. Behind her glasses, her eyes seemed to have seen through something that everyone else had missed. The two of them left the crowd and found a quiet corner in the hallway to begin their secret conversation. In this world, privacy was a luxury, yet an essential one for survival. Xiao Lin was the first to speak, thanking her for her timely support in the safe zone. Without those arrows, he likely wouldn't have survived until the boss unleashed its final skill. In response, Xiao Yue coldly dismissed it as nothing more than a mutually beneficial partnership to maximize rewards. In a ruthless system, kindness was often just a mask for personal gain. Xiao Lin could only stand there silently. He realized that this girl was not only intelligent but also extremely pragmatic, the kind of person most likely to survive in this environment. Xiao Yue pointed out the most illogical detail. With Xiao Lin's extremely low attribute stats, it was theoretically impossible for him to interrupt the goblin boss's skill. She had realized that true strength didn't always lie in visible numbers, but in variables that existed outside conventional rules, and she would help him keep that secret. Xiao Lin scratched his head awkwardly and thanked her, unsure how to explain his outstanding scholar talent. If that secret were exposed now, it might bring more trouble than benefit. Xiao Yue didn't press further. Instead, she suggested adding each other as friends through the brain system integrated into their badges. She promised to keep his secret, creating an unspoken bond between two people carrying secrets they could not reveal. She then guided him on how to activate the interface by focusing his thoughts on the badge. The technology here seemed far beyond the understanding of the old world, turning the human body into an extension of a machine system. Xiao Lin followed her instructions, concentrating on the badge in his hand. He was curious to see just how terrible his actual stats were. The status panel appeared: Strength 2, Agility 2, Intelligence 2, Constitution 3. These numbers reflected a harsh truth about his starting point at the academy. Xiao Yue asked for his student ID to send the request. The contrast between an S-rank genius and someone with the lowest stats standing side by side created a strangely surreal scene. A notification appeared on the virtual screen, a friend request from Xiao Yue. Xiao Lin reached out and pressed confirm, officially establishing his first connection in this place. He tapped the accept button. It was just a simple action on a virtual interface, yet it opened the door to an important alliance for the future. The silence was suddenly broken by the loud shout of Proctor Chin Chuan. He ordered all students who had completed the test to gather immediately at the main gate. After assembling, Chin Chuan instructed the crowd to open the map on the brain system and move toward the central stadium. The system seemed designed to turn free individuals into easily controlled pieces, guided by nothing more than a command message. Unexpectedly, Chin Chuan called Xiao Yue to stay behind for a private conversation. Xiao Lin watched from a distance, wondering whether her outstanding performance had attracted special attention from the higher authorities. Xiao Yue nodded and obeyed the order. Xiao Lin couldn't stop wondering about this special treatment. Was it a reward reserved for the strong? Or the beginning of a new burden? Pushing the thought aside, Xiao Lin opened the virtual map to find his way. A detailed layout of the academy appeared, guiding him through the common classroom area toward the central stadium. His gaze grew contemplative as he looked at the system interface. He realized that he was gradually being pulled into a game where all the rules were controlled by someone else. Standing in the huge stadium, Xiao Lin looked at the thousands of people gathering. He worried about the kind of devastating social shock the mass disappearance of so many individuals would cause in the old world. Xiao Yue suddenly appeared from behind, startling him. She confirmed that she had kept her promise and hadn't reported anything to the proctor about his unusual abilities. Their exchange was cut short by loud shouts telling everyone to clear the way. Along with the shouting came the appearance of the student council president. His striking blue hair immediately drawing attention. He ordered everyone to stand in formation according to their classes. Power often begins by imposing order on chaos, turning an unorganized crowd into a unified, easily controlled force. He stood tall on the platform, with members of the student council behind him, all exuding authority. His confident demeanor highlighted the vast gap between the senior students and the bewildered freshmen below. The president gave a friendly yet distant smile as he introduced himself and began the welcoming ceremony. He announced that the principal would be arriving a bit late due to other matters. In the meantime, he would deliver the academy's welcome to all new students. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shattered the air, cutting him off mid-sentence. The sound was so powerful that it seemed to shake the very space itself, pressing heavily against everyone's chest. The entire stadium descended into chaos as thousands of eyes instinctively looked up at the sky. A massive creature was tearing through the clouds as it descended. A gigantic purple dragon landed, its enormous wings blotting out a portion of the sky. Its appearance rendered all the scientific knowledge the freshmen once relied on completely meaningless. Xiao Lin stood frozen, cold sweat streaming down his forehead. This was no longer a virtual skill or a low-level monster from the forest, it was a living, breathing mythical creature. As it came into full view, the dragon's head emerged, its glowing eyes radiating overwhelming pressure. Primitive fear was the most effective tool for establishing a new order, one where absolute strength was the only voice that mattered. Xiao Lin's body stiffened completely, unable to move even a single finger. It wasn't just fear, but the crushing pressure emitted by a higher tier being weighing down on every cell of his body. Even a genius like Xiao Yue was trembling under her survival instincts. In the face of an entity whose power surpassed all limits, intelligence seemed useless. The dragon lowered its body right in front of the stage. On its back sat an old man with white hair and beard, calmly seated, completely at odds with the terror-stricken students below. The old man spoke, apologizing to the freshmen for arriving late due to having to take care of a few matters along the way. His tone was gentle, as if he had just returned from a casual stroll rather than descending from the sky on the back of a dragon. He was the principal of Dawn Academy. His appearance not only carried an overwhelming sense of authority, but also raised a profound question about the limits of human power in this place. The student council president forced a smile, commenting that the entrance had been a bit too grand. Despite trying to remain composed, he couldn't completely hide his unease toward the man. The principal snapped back irritably, saying there was nothing grand about it. He had simply been in a hurry and had to ride that giant lizard to make it on time. In the eyes of those at the very top, things ordinary people considered divine were nothing more than everyday tools. He scolded the dragon for frightening his students. even threatening to skin it and turn it into a sofa if it happened again. The massive dragon immediately shrank back, like a pet being reprimanded by its owner. Shaolin stared intently at the principal. He realized that this was the only person with enough authority to examine his hidden talent. Standing high above, the principal of Dawn Academy swept his gaze over the thousands of new students. He remarked that the results of this year's entrance exam were quite good. There were quite a few individuals with exceptional talents. Then came a meaningful glance from him. Sometimes, a single look from someone in power was more terrifying than any threat, because it suggested they understood you better than you understood yourself. Shaolin suddenly tensed. He felt as if that gaze had swept across the crowd and lingered on him just a little longer than usual. Cold sweat broke out across his skin as he wondered whether the secret of his top scholar talent was truly safe in front of this old man. The principal raised his staff, and a brilliant purple magic circle appeared beneath his feet. He was preparing to cast a sound amplification spell to begin what would be a fateful speech. Standing beside the enormous dragon, he began speaking in a tone that was both approachable and heavy with authority. He knew full well that what these freshmen cared about most right now was not his identity, but the reason why they had been brought here. The old man casually blamed the admissions department for being tactless in their methods, even promising to establish new regulations to avoid inviting people at such strange hours. Using humor to ease the crowd was a master-level psychological tactic employed by those in power. The crowd below began to murmur, some clearly showing anxiety and unease. They had been torn away from their families, friends, and old lives overnight, only to be thrown into a place as insane as this. Suddenly, the principal's smile vanished, his expression turning extremely solemn. He declared that it was time to end the jokes and answer the two biggest questions weighing on everyone's minds: who are we, and what must we do? In the suffocating silence that followed, he announced in a clear, resounding voice, "Listen carefully. Children from the old world, we are colonizers. This world is called Planet Nuo Ma, also known as the New World. This academy exists for one purpose only, to train the finest colonizers. Nuo Ma is the world we are about to set foot on. The world we will fight for, and the territory you will conquer in the future." With that declaration, the illusion of a school was completely shattered, transforming every student into a tool in a brutal interplanetary conquest. The principal declared in a resounding voice, "From the moment you tore open your admission notice, your ordinary lives have officially come to an end. Starting today, among you may rise generals who command entire legions and pioneer new lands. Or you may become great mages who grasp the truths and laws of the world itself. Some freshmen might even become rulers, the ones who set the laws upon that new land called Norma. Absolute power always comes with ruthless elimination. And within this academy, those in control were painting a vision of paradise to conceal a blood-soaked battlefield." The principal spread his arms wide before the cheering crowd. All the treasures of the new world, power, knowledge, even immortality, were opening their doors to welcome the freshmen. But in the very next moment, his tone shifted abruptly as he announced a new rule that shattered the academy's long-standing tradition. Under the old rules, first-year students were forbidden from entering the new world. However, this year, the top 3 students from the final exam would be granted special permission to enter early. The student council president immediately voiced his opposition, concerned for the safety of the freshmen. The principal's gaze turned stern, radiating a terrifying pressure that choked the president's objections before they could fully leave his throat. Under that overwhelming dominance, the student council president could only break into a cold sweat and bow his head, apologizing for speaking out of turn. In a rigid hierarchy of power, resistance without real strength was nothing more than a joke in the eyes of those who ruled. "All right, enough nonsense." Dismissed, the principal turned and walked away, bringing the dramatic opening ceremony to an end. Standing among the crowd, Shaolin fell into deep thought. He sensed something strange in the student council president's reaction, as if the man were hiding a terrifying truth about the new world. But Shaolin knew that his most important task right now was to make full use of every available resource to grow stronger. Just as Shaolin was about to leave, Proctor Qin Chuan suddenly called out for him to stop. Confused, Xiao Lin wondered what this strict proctor could possibly want from him at a time like this. Scratching his head, Qin Chuan explained that according to the rules, the student with the highest score in the test should take on the role of class leader. However, Xiao Yue had flatly refused the position. As a result, the role was passed on to Xiao Lin. Qin Chuan emphasized that the class leader position came with academic credits, abundant resources, and many other privileges. He believed those benefits would help Xiao Lin survive in this place, and added that the position would be reassigned after a test 3 months later. The brain system immediately displayed a notification. Xiao Lin had been appointed as the temporary class leader of Class 7. Qin Chuan waved his hand and turned to leave, reminding Xiao Lin to read the freshman handbook for more details. Privileges? Xiao Lin muttered to himself, beginning to realize that the title of class leader carried far more weight than he had imagined. Xiao Lin made his way to the freshman dormitory area, a massive, modern building bearing the sign, Student Dormitory. At the management desk, a senior female student lazily recited the rules. Doors lock at 7 p.m. Open at 6 a.m. if you don't return to the dorm overnight. Your academic credits will be deducted. Got it? The dorm supervisor, Zhang Dingding, didn't even bother to look up at Xiao Lin at first, until the system finished scanning his ID card and displayed his information. My goodness, a freshman, and the class leader of the new cohort? That's truly impressive. Zhang Dingding's attitude changed instantly. She enthusiastically pulled Xiao Lin along to collect his personal supplies, showering him with praise the entire time. This academy was frighteningly pragmatic. Here, a single line of information on an ID card could turn disdain into flattery in the blink of an eye. Zhang Dingding handed Xiao Lin a uniform and explained that the color indicated class rank: blue for second-year students, green for freshmen. She then led him to a private room, spacious and fully furnished. This was a privilege reserved exclusively for class leaders, while other freshmen had to share double rooms. As she handed over the room keycard, Zhang Dingding reminded him to keep it safe, since it integrated everything from payments to attendance tracking. She even gave him a playful wink, taking the initiative to tell him to contact her if he had any questions. The speed of her attitude shift left Xiao Lin speechless. Make sure to choose your courses carefully. Class leader. Zhang Dingding waved goodbye with an unusually sweet smile. Xiao Lin politely said his farewell as well. Standing alone in his room, Xiao Lin realized that all of Zhang Dingding's enthusiasm stemmed entirely from the class leader title he had just received. Clearly, within this academy, the hierarchy was extremely strict. Every privilege had to be fought for through personal strength and social standing. Not wasting any time, Xiao Lin commanded the brain system, open the course selection list. A long list appeared on the virtual screen, ranging from classes that improved basic attributes to courses on the history and language of the world of Norma. Xiao Lin broke into a cold sweat at the sheer volume of knowledge he needed to absorb. But he quickly regained his composure thanks to his omniscient scholar talent. Realizing that his base stats were at the lowest possible level, Xiao Lin knew he had to make up for these weaknesses as quickly as possible. The wise do not choose the skills with the greatest destructive power. They choose the ones that allow them to survive the longest. Xiao Lin decided to start with basic swordsmanship, pairing it with physical conditioning and meditation to improve his endurance and concentration. In addition, he chose courses in Norma history, Norma geography, and the common language of Norma. He pressed the confirm button, officially stepping onto a harsh training path meant to turn him into an unpredictable variable within this academy. The next morning at the training grounds, the atmosphere had already grown intense with the loud, spirited shouts of the freshmen. Thanks to his SS-tier talent, Xiao Lin could clearly see the points of force exertion in his body through a virtual diagram, allowing his training efficiency to skyrocket to its maximum. Every strike that landed on the wooden post granted him real experience points. Xiao Lin realized that if he could accurately grasp these critical points, his rate of progress would reach an unbelievable level. In less than 2 hours of training, the system notified him that his swordsmanship had reached level 3. At the same time, His strength attribute increased by 1 point. While ordinary people were still struggling with basic stances, a master had already fully grasped the essence of the skill through absolute analytical ability. At this moment, Shaolin's skill progression speed was twice that of other students. Going from level 1 to level 2 took only 30 minutes. And from level 2 to level 3 took just 1 hour. Looking around, the other freshmen had already begun to collapse from exhaustion, sprawled across the training ground with their arms completely numb. Watching from a distance, Instructor Cheng Na frowned in clear disappointment. In her eyes, the physical quality of this batch of freshmen was even worse than she had imagined. With such pitiful ability, how dare they enroll in her class? Listen carefully. In this class, anyone who hasn't reached level 3 in basic swordsmanship can forget about leaving. It was a cold command issued by Cheng Na, a third-year student serving as a substitute instructor, carrying an overwhelmingly oppressive presence. The freshmen around him began to wail in despair. Some deeply regretted choosing the swordsmanship class of this woman they secretly called a devil. Just getting from level 1 to level 2 already takes hours of non-stop swinging. How are we supposed to reach level 3 right away? Desperation was written all over the faces of these students, who had once been considered geniuses in the old world. In a harsh survival environment, the limit of ordinary people was merely the starting line that exceptional individuals had to surpass. While the entire training ground was filled with exhaustion and complaints, Shaolin suddenly stepped forward, stopping right in front of Instructor Cheng Na and making a request that no one had even dared to imagine. Calmly, Shaolin declared that he had already reached level 3 and wished to leave early in order to attend his next meditation class. His statement instantly silenced the noisy surroundings. Cheng Na narrowed her eyes, staring directly at Shaolin. Her gaze was filled with suspicion and sharp intensity, as if trying to see through him completely. Power always comes with doubt. When someone deemed weak accomplishes the impossible, the first reaction of those in authority is always denial and caution. You've been training for less than 2 hours, and you dare claim you've reached level 3? Are you mocking me, Shaolin? Cheng Na demanded coldly, her tone signaling that serious trouble was about to unfold for him in the next few moments. Cheng Na looked at Shaolin with obvious suspicion, calling him a lucky freeloader who only relied on his teammates to earn an S-rank evaluation in the test. In this militaristic environment, an S-rank was nothing more than an empty title if it wasn't backed by enough physical strength to suppress others. Cheng Na demanded that Shaolin provide a more legitimate reason if he wanted to be excused from class early. She simply couldn't believe that a freshman who had just enrolled could reach basic swordsmanship level 3 in such a short amount of time. However, Shaolin remained unusually calm. He suggested that Cheng Na could check the system data if she still had doubts. Cheng Na sneered. To her, those lifeless numbers on a data panel meant absolutely nothing as proof. A system notification rang out, signaling that Cheng Na was using her authority as an instructor to activate a special setting. A large-scale simulation training ground was about to be deployed, and all students were instructed to prepare. Before Shaolin could react, the space around him began to twist and distort, dissolving into a void. Cheng Na reappeared clad in a domineering suit of bone armor. She declared that only real combat could strip away the mask of a fraud. The arrogance of the strong was often accompanied by cruelty, because they believed pain was the fastest way for the weak to understand their true place. A welcome notification appeared in the air, confirming that Shaolin and Cheng Na had entered a multi-environment combat simulation arena. This was an advanced training space built from the Academy's vast resources, designed to simulate part of the survival laws of the planet Norma. Cheng Na coldly reminded him that although participants wouldn't truly die here, every sensation of pain he experienced would feel real down to the cellular level. Her eyes gleamed with excitement as she emphasized that all sensory settings in this place were maximized to 100%. From beneath the ground, legions of skeletal soldiers began to rise, carrying the breath of death within this perilous dungeon instance. Kid, use real combat to prove your level 3 skill. Under Cheng Na's control, the skeleton warriors began to move, surrounding Shaolin from all sides. She sat leisurely upon a throne made of bones, stating that the strength of these skeletal monsters was roughly equal to the goblins from the entrance exam. The wager was set. If Xiao Lin could clear this dungeon, he would be granted the privilege of leaving class early. As Xiao Lin observed his surroundings, he shifted his body slightly to evade a lethal strike. A system panel appeared with the mission details for the Necromancer's dungeon. Survive for 40 minutes or eliminate 20 skeletal soldiers. Completing either condition would be considered a successful clear. Xiao Lin cursed inwardly, realizing that this woman was truly a full-blown lunatic, someone who would throw a rookie into a place like this just to satisfy her own competitiveness. He understood that the nature of power within this academy was actually very simple. Either you were agile enough to run, or you were strong enough to crush the rules. Gripping the E-rank refined steel short sword in his hand, Xiao Lin's eyes suddenly turned sharp and intensely focused. He quickly analyzed the situation. There were two paths to complete this brutal challenge. The first path was to keep moving and evading continuously, stalling for time until the dungeon ended. The second path was to take the initiative and wipe out every single enemy. Xiao Lin charged straight at the nearest skeleton soldier with a decisive slash. He twisted his body to slip past the enemy's blade, moving with ghost-like agility in the middle of the monster horde. A clean, fluid strike severed the head of the first skeleton soldier. The number 120th appeared on the mission notification panel. Xiao Lin realized that by focusing on the skeletal joints and structural weak points, each monster only required exactly 2 strikes to be completely taken down. The calculations in his mind ran rapidly. 20 monsters meant 40 precise strikes. The mindset of a gamer allowed Xiao Lin to separate emotions from the battle, turning survival into a sequence of logical data that was constantly being optimized. Watching from above, Cheng Na narrowed her eyes, beginning to feel intrigued as she witnessed this freshman truly daring to throw himself into a life-and-death fight. She had once thought Xiao Lin would kneel and beg her to shut down the dungeon. But in reality, every step he took and every burst of power he executed was incredibly methodical. Xiao Lin spun and unleashed a clean horizontal slash, taking down another skeleton. Not a single unnecessary movement was exposed to his enemies. Decisive movements, precise judgment. Cheng Na silently gave high marks to the rookie's combat instincts, compared to the other freshmen who could only swing their swords wildly in fear. Xiao Lin was clearly on an entirely different level. High-level technique could compensate for physical shortcomings, but it was also a double-edged sword, as the body still had to bear the burden of skills that exceeded its own limits. Cheng Na wondered whether Xiao Lin had enrolled in both the swordsmanship class and the meditation class at the same time in order to boost his attributes. At that moment, Xiao Lin had already begun to pant heavily from exhaustion. Dreams are always beautiful, but the human body has its limits. Xiao Lin's arm began to ache intensely, and it had just taken a direct slash. For someone with such low base stats, being able to eliminate 13 skeleton soldiers under these conditions was already a miracle far beyond expectations. Xiao Lin had only 28 minutes left to complete the rest of the mission. A skeleton soldier suddenly unleashed a powerful strike, sending Xiao Lin flying backward. He spat out a mouthful of simulated blood, the pain excruciatingly real. Cheng Na sighed. In her opinion, that level of performance was already enough. Xiao Lin should face reality. With the little strength he had left, there was no way he could clear this dungeon. The skeleton soldiers began tightening their encirclement, pushing Xiao Lin into a dead end with no escape. Still, Xiao Lin struggled to his feet and gripped his sword tightly. At the very moment when everything seemed to be over, a surge of violet light erupted with overwhelming force. The skill-heavy strike level 1 was officially activated. 3 more skeleton soldiers were instantly destroyed. Cheng Na's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Heavy strike? How could a freshman who just enrolled possibly possess that skill? 17, 18, 19? Xiao Lin transformed into a raging storm, sweeping away everything in his path at an astonishing speed. When a genius is pushed to the brink, they don't just break their own limits, they shatter the very logic of the world around them. The final strike pierced straight into the skull of the 20th skeleton soldier. 2020. The mission was completed flawlessly, leaving Cheng Na utterly stunned. Xiao Lin collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. His body was completely drained after that explosive burst of power. Cheng Na stood there silently, watching the entire performance. Looking up at Cheng Na with a provocative smile, Xiao Lin declared that he had fulfilled her requirement. This victory not only granted him the privilege of leaving class early, but also officially placed his name on the list of the most dangerous variables within Dawn Academy. But would this attention from higher authorities be an honor, or a threat? Only time would tell. As Cheng Na looked at Xiao Lin lying exhausted at her feet, she couldn't help but feel shaken. She silently admitted that for a freshman to achieve an S rank in the entrance exam could never be attributed to mere luck. She realized she had been overconfident and had forgotten one thing. In a world like Dawn Academy, where strength was everything, luck could never last without a solid foundation of skill to support it. The scene shifted to the student council office, which was enveloped in silence. The student council secretary, a serious female student with long, smooth green hair, carefully placed a stack of files belonging to S rank and A rank freshmen onto the president's desk. The president responded briefly, telling her to leave them there. However, the secretary remained standing, her expression filled with hesitation. She pulled out a very unusual schedule and earnestly asked the president to take a look. The student council president, a refined young man with blue hair, immediately sensed that something was off and asked for an explanation. The green-haired secretary awkwardly explained that a certain freshman had registered for courses in an extremely bizarre way, something unprecedented in the academy's history. Abnormality was always a sign of someone trying to break conventional rules in search of a different path to power, or simply a fool. The student council president gasped when the secretary pointed at the name Xiao Lin, emphasizing that he had registered for every single course available to freshmen. Was it an insatiable thirst for knowledge, or sheer overconfidence? Whatever the reason, Xiao Lin had successfully drawn everyone's attention. Welcome back to the world of Dawn Academy, where every choice can determine a person's fate. At exactly 12:04 p.m., in the academy's infirmary, the air was thick with a sharp scent of disinfectant and lingering tension. Instructor Cheng Na stood with her arms crossed, her expression openly severe. She made no effort to hide her irritation after being criticized for her rather extreme teaching methods. Still, this was far from the first time Cheng Na had caused such trouble. The student council president sat beside the hospital bed and gently advised Cheng Na that, for freshmen who had only just enrolled, there was no need to impose tests so provocative that they pushed students to the brink of physical collapse. Cheng Na immediately argued back, her eyes turned cold, filled with unwavering conviction, as she insisted that strictness at the very beginning was the best form of protection for freshmen in the future. Faced with the stubbornness that had long become the female instructor's trademark, the student council president could only fall silent and chose not to continue the argument. Cheng Na's gaze suddenly softened as she quietly looked over at Xiao Lin, who was still lying motionless on the bed. Xiao Lin let out a faint groan as his consciousness gradually returned after the severe physical and mental shock from the earlier dungeon trial. As he slowly opened his eyes, Xiao Lin found himself staring at the two most influential figures in the student body, both waiting for him to wake up. Struggling to sit up, Xiao Lin realized he was being treated in Dawn Academy's highest-class medical room, equipped with incredibly advanced technology. The president smiled and explained that when someone left a full immersion simulation space, the exhaustion clung stubbornly to the body instead of disappearing completely like it would after ordinary virtual dungeon runs. Xiao Lin admitted that soreness was spreading through every muscle in his body. It was far too steep a price for the effort he had just made to challenge an enemy above his level. Seeing that Xiao Lin's condition had stabilized, the president turned to Cheng Na and asked her to leave so he and Xiao Lin could have a private conversation. The president gave her a commanding look, one powerful enough that Cheng Na, despite her reluctance, had no choice but to comply. Biting her lip in annoyance, Cheng Na silently resented what she saw as the president's subtle favoritism. Despite his reputation for fairness, with an irritated huff, she stood up and walked away, her elegant figure radiating obvious displeasure before disappearing behind the door. But her footsteps suddenly stopped at the doorway, Creating a dramatic silence, Cheng Na turned back and spoke in a sharp tone, firmly declaring that she was not the kind of person who broke her promises. She announced that Xiao Lin's privilege to leave class early had been approved, considering it a well-deserved reward for his unyielding willpower. Yet before leaving for good, Cheng Na did not forget to leave behind a chilling warning. Those greedy enough to pursue both magic and martial arts at the same time rarely met a good end. She advised Xiao Lin to think very carefully. Watching her graceful figure disappear, Xiao Lin silently admitted that the senior known as the Tyrant Dragon Lady was actually someone who lived by a very fair set of principles. The student council president cleared his throat, officially getting down to business now that everyone irrelevant had left the room. He asked Xiao Lin whether he had read the freshman handbook, reminding him of one particular warning inside it. Students were clearly advised not to choose too many conflicting courses at the same time. The physical path included swordsmanship and martial arts, while the magic path included meditation and perception, two completely separate worlds in terms of the nature of their power. The division in strength was not merely reflected in surface-level skills, but also in each individual's core direction, where specialization was the key that led the way to greatness. The student council president admitted that training in both martial arts and magic could provide overwhelming combat advantages during the first year, allowing Xiao Lin to adapt flexibly in any situation. However, each course would eventually branch out into many smaller disciplines. As students advanced to higher levels, the burden of time and effort required would increase many times over, causing most geniuses to collapse long before they could ever reach the pinnacle of glory. Xiao Lin listened attentively, yet his eyes showed not the slightest trace of hesitation or fear in the face of the hardships being foretold. Xiao Lin compared the learning process to the growth of a tree. The higher it rose, the more intricate and demanding its branches became. He stated clearly that he understood the difficulties ahead, but he still wanted to challenge and conquer them. Relying on his SS-rank talent, all-around academic genius, Xiao Lin was certain that he could reconcile these two schools of power and forge a development path unlike any other. Witnessing such unwavering determination, bordering on stubbornness, the president could only let out a sigh at the resolve of this mysterious freshman. Suddenly, an urgent notification from the headmaster appeared in midair, abruptly interrupting the atmosphere of their discussion. The president froze for a moment as he read the message. Shock was clearly visible on the face of someone who was usually calm and composed. "All right, Xiao Lin, the headmaster has personally approved your course selection. I won't object any further." The president reminded Xiao Lin that his new class schedule would be delivered the next morning after the cerebral core system completed its optimization process. Xiao Lin was puzzled as to why the headmaster's message had arrived at such a precise moment. It made him feel as though he was constantly being watched. Those who possessed extraordinary talents were always subject to special scrutiny, because supreme authority never allowed the possibility of losing control. Xiao Lin began to grow suspicious of this attention that seemed far beyond normal concern. At the very center of the academy stood its tallest tower, rising majestically beneath the pale sunlight. It was a place that held secrets ordinary students could never hope to touch. Behind the doors of the headmaster's imposing office, an elderly figure stood silently, gazing over the entire academy through a vast window. A playful voice suddenly rang out, asking why the old man headmaster seemed so unusually troubled today. The owner of that voice was none other than Dawn Academy's central control system, embodied in the form of a white-haired girl with bright crimson eyes sparkling with mischief. The headmaster turned around and remarked that it seemed the Academy's central intelligence had been corrupted by anime culture from planet Blue Star. The girl paid no mind to the comment. Instead, she proudly showed off her hairstyle and dress, saying that this look was very trendy on Earth, and that it might even help her make more new friends. The headmaster reminded the AI girl of her highly classified status, an existence whose presence was known only to a select few at the very top of the power structure. The girl pouted in annoyance, complaining that the headmaster was far too boring. She changed the subject by praising this year's freshman class, noting that several students possessed S-rank talents. Then she asked why the headmaster seemed so troubled. The headmaster let out a sigh and revealed a startling truth. The average attribute score for an ordinary human was 10 points, while Dawn Academy's admission standard required scores above 20. Xiao Lin had only 9 points, a number even lower than the most average baseline. A person's worth was often confined within preset measurements. Yet sometimes true power existed beyond the reach of algorithms. However, talents only awakened after a person enrolled. This meant that, in theory, Xiao Lin should have had absolutely no reason to receive an invitation in the first place. The AI girl optimistically suggested that perhaps the admissions department had simply made a mistake. But that very mistake had brought Dawn Academy a fascinating variable. The headmaster of Dawn Academy understood that the issue was not merely Xiao Lin's attribute scores. The real problem was a severe flaw in the academy's management system, one he had just discovered while reviewing the records. The headmaster's final revelation caused the entire atmosphere to freeze within the academy's vast data archives. The name Xiao Lin did not exist in any enrollment record or admission approval at all. The greatest secrets are not always hidden in what can be seen, but in the invisible gaps that even absolute power cannot explain. A ghost student was now present at the very heart of Dawn Academy, and the journey of someone who should not exist had only just truly begun. At the Dawn Academy principal's office, a reconciliation of new student data was underway between him and the central control system. A strange discrepancy appeared. The system recorded 1360 enrolled students, but the archive held only 1359 acceptance letters. The principal fell into thought. For since the academy's founding there had been no precedent. He asked the AI to explain the current situation. The AI confirmed the figure of 1360 was completely accurate. The principal immediately ordered it to extract Xiao Lin's acceptance letter for inspection, but the reply left him stunned. The white-haired girl smiled and announced that even the principal did not have the authority to view the document. What? The principal couldn't believe his ears, his face showing shock at this unreasonable access restriction. A student record lying beyond the head of the academy's control. The system admitted it was equally surprised. The principal's gaze hardened in thought. This suggested some mysterious force or higher authority was behind Xiao Lin. Knowing he couldn't force the issue, he decided to stop and ordered the use of supreme authority to encrypt all new student records, except files with special permissions. The central AI quickly nodded in agreement to carry out the security request. In the digital space, the bulk data encryption process began to be deployed. Results showed 1359 records had been successfully secured. Only one special file remained locked and continued to be protected at the highest level. The AI curiously asked the principal whether he was intentionally trying to reveal the identity of the owner of the missing acceptance letter. The principal did not answer, only announcing that tomorrow he would have to return to the new world. He didn't want anyone unrelated to interfere with Xiao Lin's growth after he left. The academy's affairs would now be entrusted to the AI. The girl nodded, agreeing to accept the responsibility. The next morning in the academy cafeteria, the atmosphere was bustling with rows of steaming food. Zhang Dingding, a second-year student, was startled to realize the person sitting opposite was the freshman who had fainted in the first period and caused a commotion in the student council. Xiao Lin paused mid-bite, thinking that rumors indeed spread faster than the wind. He admitted that the class that day had been overwhelming. Zhang Dingding clicked her tongue in sympathy, saying teacher Cheng Na was indeed terrifying. Xiao Lin nodded in agreement about the immense pressure she created. Changing the subject, Xiao Lin asked about the panoramic simulation arena. Having heard only instructors were allowed to open it, Zhang Dingding widened her eyes in surprise and asked whether he had really studied the privileges of a class representative carefully. She showed him the class group management interface on her handheld device. With that title, Xiao Lin could approve simulation arena usage requests from class members on behalf of a teacher. More importantly, he also had the right to submit a request himself and approve it without anyone else's consent. Following the instructions, Xiao Lin navigated to the panoramic simulation student registration and hit the submit request button. Zhang Dingding laughed, saying that since he was only a freshman the system would surely auto-reject the request. But in just a moment, the approval chime sounded, startling her so much she spat out her drink. Zhang Dingding couldn't believe her eyes. She recalled that when she was class representative she had to wait 3 weeks for approval. Yet he was approved immediately. She reminded him the arena was meant for second years. Each opening cost 500 reward points and only if you passed the challenge would they be refunded. Failure meant losing them all. Xiao Lin did the math. He had only 800 points, meaning he couldn't afford any mistakes in the upcoming session. His goal was to place in the top 3 of the Zhonghe exam to earn the right to go to the New World early. The only path to break through his power. Shaolin recalled Qin Chuan saying the class leader position would be reselected after the Zhonghe exam. He believed that after the exam Shaolin would lose the class leader post and its privileges. And not long ago, the muscular male student Wang Dalin was furious to learn Shaolin had the class leader position. He snappishly called Shaolin weak and swore he'd teach him a lesson soon. After learning the class leader had many privileges helpful for getting stronger, Shaolin didn't want the role to fall to someone else. In Class 7 the strongest was Jiyu Xiaoyue and second was Wang Dalin. Shaolin knew if Wang Dalin took over, he'd surely forbid him from using the training arena. For now, by any means necessary, he had to raise his strength. Shaolin said goodbye to Zhang Dingding to prepare for an intense training session. Zhang Dingding smiled and waved back. Zhang Dingding watched Shaolin's retreating back, silently admiring the freshman's resolute will. In the academy's fitness room, the air still lingered with post-class fatigue. Luang Ziwei adjusted his glasses, sneering that it was unbelievable someone with such low stats as Shaolin could be class leader. Anger flared. Wang Dalin crushed the water bottle in his hand, water spraying everywhere as he vented his frustration. He cursed the instructors as lazy and incompetent for picking Shaolin, someone he considered trash. Seeing Shaolin grinding away alone after class made Wang Dalin even more irritated. He resentfully mentioned Jiyu Xiaoyue and vowed to retaliate for her slight against him. Luang Ziwei didn't want to wait for the exam in 3 months. He wanted to punish Shaolin immediately. A suggestion that piqued Wang Dalin's interest. Luang Ziwei began outlining a plan, saying he knew a second year in the discipline department, violations would be deducted points, and a despicable scheme began to take shape. Meanwhile, Shaolin kept pounding the treadmill. Experience points for the basic stamina skill accumulated with each stride. Drenched in sweat and breathing heavily, Shaolin didn't stop. He stubbornly gathered every bit to upgrade his frail physique. He sighed in relief when he checked the clock. It was nearly 7 p.m. Another high-intensity session had passed. Shaolin calculated it would take him 10 minutes to get back to the dorm and still make curfew. Confident in this pace, he expected his stamina skill to reach level 2 next week. But as he grabbed the doorknob to leave, Shaolin froze. The door didn't budge no matter how hard he turned it. A sense of unease washed over him. He squinted at the door and realized something was wrong. Horrified, Shaolin realized the only door had been locked from the outside. He'd walked into a trap and was locked in the dark just before curfew. In the empty gym, only the dry clatter from the lock could be heard. Shaolin startled, realizing the door had been locked from the outside. He was annoyed at the staff's carelessness for locking up without checking if anyone was inside. Curfew was approaching, and Shaolin grew anxious. Could he really have to sleep here among the exercise machines tonight? Clack! All the lights in the room went out, leaving everything in complete darkness. Shaolin stood still in the dark, trying to stay calm and make out his surroundings. Lucky it's just the lights, he muttered. This school isn't poor. Why cut the power like that? It gave me a scare. Under the strange night sky, a voice rang out, asking whether any new student had violated the rules by being out after curfew. It was Chen Yu, head of the sophomore division of the discipline committee. With him was Han Senator, who was confirming the report from Luang Ziwei. He believed a temporary class leader daring to openly break the rules deserved strict punishment as an example. Chen Yu adjusted his glasses, his face cold. He said the principal was busy with important matters, so the discipline committee had to uphold principles and avoid mistakes. Han Sen immediately agreed, flattering him. He didn't want to overlook any infraction by a new student. At the gym door, Han Sen suggested going in to check himself, flashing a calculating smile. A malicious plan formed in his mind. Luang Ziwei would be left to find evidence, while he would personally handle things. He believed Shaolin had many reward points, and this was a good chance to take them. He turned the lock. The click echoed in the quiet night. He thought that if he caught Shaolin, those points would be his. The door opened. Han Sen stepped inside and looked around, but all he saw were the dark silhouettes of the machines. He stopped, looking puzzled. There had clearly been a report, but there was no one inside. He wondered where the target had gone. Chen Yu called from outside asking what was wrong. Han Sen stammered, beginning to sense that something was off. He said he'd heard a noise and thought someone might be hiding there. Chen Yu remained calm and observed him. At that moment, Xiao Lin was holding his breath, standing close behind the door of a nearby changing room. His heart pounded. One slip and he'd be discovered. Chen Yu looked around and said the front door had been locked from the outside, so no one could be inside. He suggested Han Sen must have misheard. Han Sen forced a smile and hurriedly agreed. He suggested continuing the patrol to hide his awkwardness. Once outside, Han Sen's expression changed. He ground his teeth in anger. He couldn't believe Xiao Lin could vanish like that. He wondered where the boy had gone. Darkness covered the forest behind the academy. Eerily silent, Xiao Lin breathed a sigh of relief when he saw they had moved away. He hid behind a large tree, sweat still on his brow. He had almost been caught by the discipline committee. He thought it over. New students being out at night was forbidden and would cost many points if caught. But today felt like someone had arranged it beforehand. Everything was too coincidental. Xiao Lin began to suspect someone might be targeting him. Or maybe he was overthinking. He looked up at the sky, trying to find answers in the stars. His blue eyes narrowed as he saw an unbelievable sight. There weren't just one but two moons shining in the night sky. Xiao Lin exclaimed in amazement. Unable to believe his eyes, he recalled the principal's words. This place was built like the world of Norma. That meant 2 moons were normal here. Strange but fascinating. Xiao Lin realized he couldn't return to the gym. The most important thing now was to find a safe place to stay the night. He quietly walked into the forest. Suddenly a cold gust swept through with a terrifying hiss. A massive shadow appeared beyond the treetops. Xiao Lin froze, cold sweat running down. He felt an immense pressure bearing down toward him. A giant eye with a vertical purple pupil glowed in the dark, staring at him like prey. The purple dragon appeared in full before him. It was so enormous that everything around it seemed tiny. Xiao Lin recognized it immediately. This was the dragon that had shown up at the opening ceremony. His face went pale, confronting the creature directly. The dragon moved slightly. Its huge wings spread, generating a strong gust that blew up dust and dirt. It let out a low roar. Its breath carried terrifying force, as if the air itself had frozen. Xiao Lin stood motionless before that overwhelming power. Without thinking, Xiao Lin turned and ran. He sprinted through the forest, not daring to look back. As he ran, he prayed the monster wouldn't pursue him. He didn't want to become the dragon's meal. Suddenly, a small house appeared ahead in the woods. Xiao Lin was overjoyed, seeing it as his chance to survive. With no other option, Xiao Lin decided he had to crawl inside and hide first. Xiao Lin dashed into the garden around the house. Panting, he figured the dragon wouldn't come in. The temporary safety made him start to look around, but he quickly noticed the garden was strange. Giant cabbage plants grew everywhere, and there was a noise coming from behind the bushes. He squinted, sensing this place was not simple. Xiao Lin stood in the garden, unsure where he was. Everything around him felt very odd. He gasped when he saw a cabbage so large it didn't look like normal produce. The vitality here was unbelievable. His gaze moved to red fruits glowing under the moonlight. Their sweet aroma made him hungry. He wondered if they were edible. Just beyond the leaves, a black chicken appeared. It looked very unusual, making Xiao Lin both curious and uneasy. Seeing the plump chicken, Xiao Lin thought of roasting it for a meal. He imagined the golden, fragrant meat, very tempting. But the chicken turned to look at him, its red eyes glowing menacingly, as if it knew what he was thinking. Suddenly the chicken opened its beak and spewed a stream of fire at him. Xiao Lin panicked. He hadn't expected a chicken to breathe fire like a dragon. He frantically dodged as the chicken flew up and attacked repeatedly. This world was truly insane. Even the chickens were monsters. Out of nowhere, a hand reached out and grabbed the fire-breathing chicken by the neck with ease, leaving it to squawk weakly. Trembling, Xiao Lin looked at the person who had saved him. He whispered, asking who they were. The strange man, messy-haired and lazy in demeanor, held the chicken in his hands. He looked at Xiao Lin and asked sternly which class he was in and why he had sneaked in at night trying to steal his chicken. Thank you all for supporting my video. I wish you endless happiness and joy in life. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and leave a comment to show your support. I sincerely appreciate it.